Your hands can hold something. Your feet can take you to some place, your legs. But where to go, where not to go is decided here. Which thing should be held and which should not be touched. It is snake, don't touch it. No, it's wood, you can have it. The decision is made here, not by the hands. So these organs, the whole of the body is controlled from here. In the same way, human society behaves as a living organism. It has its own arms and legs and feet and hands, but it has its brain. That we call the brain trust of the society. And unless you convert that brain trust of the society to Iman, to your ideology, the society as a whole will not be converted. So that is the importance. That is why Quran is mentioned at the top, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah. And the second level is wal mau'izatil hasana. Common people, masses, because they don't have any philosophies in their minds. So they are like clean slates. You can write anything on them. But if there is something written already, you have to wipe it out. So in those intellectuals' minds, something is already ingrained. You have to remove it, and then only you will be able to write something. But in common people, al-mau'izatul hasana. Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izatil hasana. Good sermon. There is a saying in Persian, as dil khezat bar dil rezat. If something is coming from your heart, it will reach the heart of the person to whom you are talking. But provided there are no mental barriers in between you. If there are mental barriers, if he has some philosophies, then you have to pierce those barriers to reach his heart. And that is, what I discussed, that the highest level is with hikmah. But where there are no barriers, it's like a clean slate. Only sincerity is needed. And the second thing which is needed is, you must be practicing what you are preaching. These two conditions if you fulfill, common people, masses, they will accept the advice. This is called Mu'izatul Hasana. Good advice, good sermon, good verse. And the third level is, you have to fight out and confront in argument those who are misleading the people. The munazara and mujadala, jadilum billati ahsan. There are Christian missionaries trained for this work. There are qadiyani missionaries. They are trained, special training is given to them. And a common Muslim cannot argue with them. Even an alim, a common alim, he cannot argue with a qadiyani muballigh, because he has been trained specially, given special instructions. So you have to fight them out at their own level. You have to meet them in their own elements, and that is mujadala or munazara. But the word in Quran is only mujadala, not munazara. Commonly we use the word munazara. This is also required, just as Sheikh Ahmad Didad is doing with the Christians. In the same way people have been confronting the Arya Samajis in India. And there was a time, the Arya Samajis were sweeping, and unless there were some Muslims who could, argue with them and defeat them in munazara, it might have happened that many Muslims would have converted to Hinduism. And there was the threat, you must be knowing, that in the last century, the last part of the 19th century, when we became slaves to the Britishers, then there was a raid, ideological raid of the Christian missionaries. And there was one, Father Fender. He started, doing munazara with the ulama of Islam from Calcutta. He reached Delhi. In every town he defeated all the ulama, because the ulama were not prepared for munazara. The ulama had never studied Bible, and he had studied Quran thoroughly. So they were very unequal. Then standing on the stairs of the Jame Masjid of Delhi, he declared an open declaration, an open ultimatum to any alim throughout India. Let him come and confront me in munazara. No, it was a very critical moment. Had there been no person to confront him and defeat him, what would have happened? The general masses, Muslim masses, they would have thought, we are defeated. We are defeated physically also. We have become slaves. And we have been defeated religiously also, because our ulama couldn't confront this person. But you know, there is a very beautiful couplet from Allama Iqbal, खून इसराइल आ जाता है आखिर जोश में, तोड़ देता है कोई मूसा तलिस्म सामरी. You know, then Maulana Rahmatullah from Kairana of district Muzaffarnagar of UP, Rahmatullah Kairanavi, Rahmatullahi alayh, he made munazara with him and defeated him like anything, because he had studied Bible thoroughly. So actually you need special training to be able to confront these people who mislead you masses. So this, now for this purpose, how can you do this job unless you don't know your Iman, your Islam? You only know certain things, you know, that's all. How can you confront? How can you make dawah? First you have to learn Islam. You have to have a deep understanding of Islam yourself. And then only you can make dawah, and you can make tabligh, and you can call people to the path of Allah. That is why, you know, the Quran says, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, ordered the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to proclaim, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي. Proclaim, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is my path, and I am calling towards Allah, having a deep insight myself. I am not calling them blindly. I have the insight, and not only I have the insight, those people who are following me, وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِي, they have also the deep insight into what they have accepted, or into what they are calling other peoples to. That is why, you know, the Prophet said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best amongst you are those who learn Quran, understand Quran, who dive deep into the meanings of the Quran. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. And then they teach and propagate and convey not only the message of Quran, but the wisdom of Quran, the hikmah of Quran. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. The best good in this world that can be given to any person is the hikmah, the understanding, the tafaqquh. That is why the Prophet said, خِيَارُكُمْ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ خِيَارُكُمْ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ إِذَا فَقُهُ. The best amongst you before Islam are the best amongst you now after Iman also. But if they have the tafaqquh, the deep understanding, the insight into what is Islam, what is Iman, what are the principles underlying Sharia, how is it interrelated logically? This is a whole system, organic whole. Unless you have that deep understanding, how can you convey the message? How can you call people, especially intellectuals, those who have their own ideologies? You can't call them. And let me in the end quote a hadith. The Prophet said, Man jahul mautu wa huwa yatlubul ilma لِيُحْيِيَ بِهِ الْإِسْلَامَ فَبَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ النَّبِيِّينَ دَرَجَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. It is included in the Mishkatul Masabih, Kitabul Ilm, the third, you know, chapter of Kitabul Ilm. This hadith is given there. To whomsoever death comes in a state, in a condition that he was still learning deen, he was getting knowledge, but the sole purpose before him, for getting this knowledge, for all this learning, was to revive Islam. لِيُحْيِيَ بِهِ الْإِسْلَامِ إِحْيَا أَحْيَا يُحْيِي إِحْيَاءً. To revive Islam. That was the sole goal before him, sole aim before him. That was his aim, objective. He wants to work for the revival of Islam. For the revival of Islam, he has to teach Islam. He has to convey Islam. He has to convey the message of Allah at those three levels. At the level of hikmah, at the level of mau'izah, at the level of jidal al-hasana. So he must have knowledge and understanding himself. So he's doing it. And he is still doing it. And that comes. He has not finished. He has not started his mission. And the death has come to him. The Prophet said, فَبَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ النَّبِيِّينَ دَرَجَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. In Jannah, in paradise, there will be only difference of one level between him and the prophets of Allah. Alayhi salatu wassalam. Aw kama qala sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now this is the second level of jihad, and you have to spend money, you have to spend time, energies.